Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to talk just kind of more broadly and generally about the May Melee. We have a month of the Overwatch League behind us, and so I kind of wanted to talk about the May Melee and the Overwatch League season in general, kind of based on what we've seen from the May Melee, and kind of reflect back on what we've seen and give you my thoughts on where I think the 2021 season of the Overwatch League looks to be, kind of the direction it looks to be heading, and just give you my overall thoughts and feelings about what we have seen over the past month in terms of the production, the format, all that kind of stuff. So that's really what I want to focus on. It's a video I've kind of wanted to do for a few weeks now, but I figured I'd wait until the end of the May Melee just to kind of put them all together in one video with one collection of thoughts, now that we have seen everything that there is to see in a month's worth of play. So to start with the format, I think that the format for the season is really, really good so far. I'm a huge fan of the way that they have decided to make this season function, and just the practical ways that they have gone about making the Overwatch League work. I really like the regions. I think that the regions are, in an ideal world, it would be 10 and 10, but obviously with the way that COVID is and the way that all the teams are kind of spread, with a lot of them being in North America, it makes sense why it's 8 and 12, but I think overall it works. I think the schedule has been very good so far. That's obviously something that you can't always rely on. It's funny because I think this season is more competitive than any season we've had, but I found that predicting matches has been easier than it was in the past a lot of the time. So it is interesting to kind of see that shift and that change. But so far, I do really like what we've seen from the overall kind of format with the tournaments. I think that the 3 weeks of qualifying play, followed by the kind of day of qualifying matches on Sunday of the final week, and then we get the tournament the next weekend, is really, really good. I thought that the May Melee itself, with the 4 teams traveling, was incredible. I thought those matches were really, really good. I think getting stuff like that every month is going to really, really, really make this season so much better than seasons in the past. And really impressively to me also is the way in which we've seen the format change to going from the wins to the points really means something. This is something that I had been proposing, at least. I don't remember if I made a video on it, but at least kind of like in my mind, I was saying, the way to fix this is to give, instead of making it where you get wins for tournaments, you get points. You just, because points are the things that you can make them actually work, because points mean that you actually gain more things for winning tournaments than what you would do if it was just adding wins. Because ultimately your win percentage is really determined by how many losses you have, more so than it is how many wins you have. And so that was a big problem last season. That the reason why the Philadelphia Fusion were the number 1 seed in North America was because they lost one fewer game than the San Francisco Shock did in the regular season, despite the Shock's significantly better performances in the tournaments. Now, that is not what's going on. Now you get those points. Those points matter. And that's why a team like Dallas, is by going 2-2 in the regular season, won every single one of their tournament matches, their playoff matches, and is now the number 1 seed in North America because they got those 3 additional points, jumping them up to 5, putting them ahead of the likes of the Justice and the Houston Outlaws, who were undefeated in North America. And the Shanghai Dragons, they get those 2 points. That puts them at 5 points, puts them above the Philadelphia Fusion. And that is a really big change. And to me, that's the biggest change, because it really makes these tournament matches mean something, when in the past, it never really felt like they meant a whole lot. There was money on the line, there were wins, but ultimately it was the regular season wins that mattered a lot more. Tournament wins were nice for the money, I think, and for kind of the bragging rights of saying, we won a tournament, but ultimately, I feel like what really mattered was how you did in the regular season, which is something I don't necessarily disagree with. I think you should prioritize your regular season performances, but I think that tournaments giving you those extra points is what is important. And so I really love the new format for just the way that the actual regular season matches and tournament matches complement each other. I think it works really, really well. I'm a big fan of this format change, so I am very much in favor of that. And I think it all worked so well. So far, I've been so happy with everything they've done so far. Um, the players going to Hawaii, it just worked so much better than I expected it to. I don't know what the ping was like. I don't know if anybody has ever really come out and said, like, oh, the ping was kind of a problem. It didn't seem like it was too bad. Most teams really weren't talking about, like, a really big issue with ping, which is really good, I think. So, I mean, I do really think that this first May Melee went so incredibly well. We had so many great matches, too, right? Shock versus the Outlaws was an incredible series. The Fuel versus the Justice was a really good series. Fusion versus Shanghai was a really great series. Dallas versus Shanghai, the first time they played, was a really good series. We got a great series out of San Francisco and Atlanta, right? Like, we saw some really great matches. There were always matches to look forward to. There were always good matches. I mean, Hangzhou versus Shanghai was a really good match. Like, the fact that we got consistently strong matches every single week, pretty much, was really, really good. And that is one of the things that I thought was really, really strong. And obviously, you can't predict that that's going to happen, right? But it seems like I say you can't. You kind of can. You can kind of figure out which teams are on the rise and are looking to be pretty good. And you can build a schedule around the idea that certain teams are probably going to be better, and you can kind of put those matches strategically placed in a way so that you always have good matches here and there. So you don't have days where you just have, like, just really bad matches that people don't care about. And I think they've done a good job kind of spreading those out, and have done a good job, in my opinion, of making it so that people will be excited for all of the matches that have been scheduled for a day. So in terms of just, like, format, yes. I love everything that they've done, and I think it's been incredible. In terms of the broadcast, the amount of steps forward they have taken this season on this broadcast is outstanding and incredible. The broadcast is so much better this year. It's so much more entertaining. The sketches are better. The music on breaks is better. The way that they're doing breaks, the way that they look is better. Just the general graphics are better. The desk with Danny is incredible. Danny has just this incredibly chaotic energy that he brings into just, like, the normal, everyday, like, normal setting, right? Like, when they're just talking about matches and stuff, like, Danny brings this, like, chaotic energy of, like, Danny obviously does not have the same level of understanding of Overwatch that you have with, someone like Reinforce or Custa, right? But that's not what Danny's role is, right? Danny's role is to help bridge the Korean players with the Western audience, because that's really what it has been lacking, I think, a lot the past several years. And so Danny brings this incredible energy to the desk in just the way that he carries himself. And he of course he brings a ton of value as the person who can help bridge the community. But his role is now kind of like the prophet in a way, right? Like, someone who does not have that same game sense and understanding, but still contributes in a meaningful way, is so important. And I love having Danny on the desk. And so I think, like, he is easily the best addition so far. I was saying in the offseason, I think they needed to add somebody who could be that bridge, whether it be like a Bishu or an Arc, these players who we know have good English, or Danny Lim, who has been a fantastic addition. So I love everything they've done with Danny Lim. I think he is such a treat to have, and I've loved having him on the desk so much. And I think he has elevated the desk in ways that are just unimaginable, going into it. You kind of look back on it and you're just like, why was someone like Danny not on the desk in the past, right? In 2019, when everything was in the Blizzard Arena and you had Mika and Danny and Emily, and they were able to help bring the various audiences together, right? They were able to connect the Western players and audiences with the Korean players and the Chinese players and help bridge that gap. And all of them had such an important role, I think, in furthering the league back then. I think part of what happened in 2020 was we saw that kind of take a step back, right? Instead of having Danny, they had just, people like Swing Chip or Deer, the teams themselves, they would have their translators and their team managers be the translator for the team. But I just think having Danny is just better, because I think Danny is he is that easy to access bridge, and we know Danny. We've seen Danny. We get to see Danny every week and every day on the pre-show and the post-show. And so he makes it where the bridge is much more accessible, because what you're getting is, you're not getting, Yaki, saying something to Swing Chip and then Swing Chip telling us, right? And Swing Chip, I think Swing Chip is great. I think she does a great job with the Mayhem. She may be a little more reserved in what is said from the players, because obviously she has the team's interests at heart, and so she may, be a little more subtle on things, or maybe might, bring up the spice a little bit, but, she's always going to be a little bit more careful to kind of say something, or be careful not to say something that maybe will stir up some of these other teams. Danny's going to say whatever. He always translates things in ways that are kind of better for the audience, and so I think Danny's provided so much. I think he is such a great addition to the desk. But just in general, I think the broadcast has been better. The cutting out of the halftime, I think, has been great. Matches go so much quicker. They flow a lot better. There's not this kind of like arbitrary interruption between the matches. They just kind of give the players a little more time to have breaks in between maps, which I think is nicer and better when you have an online system. It just makes more sense in that regard. So I think that's been really, really good. My one thing is I really don't like the way the desk looks, to be honest with you. I respect what they've done. I honestly just liked it better when they just had the backdrop behind them and they just kind of went full embrace and saying, like, yeah, we're online. But, there were some good moments. Like, I think it was Danny reaching into Johnny's chest or whatever and pulling something out. And, like, the first day, I mean, that stuff was kind of funny. But in general, I just think it doesn't look as clean. Obviously, they're going for a more professional look with doing this, but I think there are better ways to go about it. And so, for me, I'm not the biggest fan of that. But that's such a nitpick where I've gotten used to it at this point in time. It doesn't look as bad the more you kind of look at it. And so, overall, it's been good. And the casting groups have been really good as well. I missed a good chunk of the casts the last weekend before like the actual May Melee happened. I missed a lot of like the Friday casts and the Saturday casts. So I didn't get to see everything, but I've been impressed so far with everything, really. So I think this is the best season we've had so far. It's been super consistent. I think the level of play has been really good, but also, even more importantly, the content itself has been so much better. The product has been a lot better. And I think that is what's going to help the league going forward, where we have these tournaments that are really, really good, and they make it where every single week matters. And cutting back on the games kind of drives that in, where the players are going to have a lot more time to focus on fewer matches, and I think that will ultimately make each match better and more impactful. And so it'll be a little difficult. It'll be weird to kind of adjust to the decrease in matches, I think, but I'm a huge fan of what they've done so far, and I really am so excited to keep seeing what they do going forward. So those are my thoughts on everything that's going on. Let me know your thoughts on this season down below. I'd love to hear from you, but that is all for me. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, consider liking and subscribing for more videos like this in the future. But I'm going to get out of here. So thank you once again. Hope you're all staying safe and staying healthy. And until next time, Bye bye.